Clarifications? Ms. Polisan.
Thank you, Chairman. I thank Minister Grace Fu and the whole team at MSE for leading the whole nation in this green transition. It's not easy. I have one question for Minister Grace. She mentioned that Pandan Reservoir will also be expanded to include the floating solar farms. I would like to know how would from the Tengah Reservoir experience, how is biodiversity in the water in the reservoir affected with solar panels? I have another question for SMS Khor. I'm heartened to learn about the setup of the CFRP to have a applied research and living lab in NUS. May I know how do we intend to bring in talents to do the research, and also will we be looking at causes for our students in NUS to support this effort? And last question for SPS Baey. In the fight against dengue, I understand that to expand Project Wabakea, we have increased mosquito productions from 2 million to 5 million every week. That's a lot of mosquitoes. And how do we sustain this effort over the long run? What is MSE's strategy? Thank you.
Chairman, I'd like to thank Madam Ms. Po for her supplementary or her clarifications. On Pandan Reservoir, I'd like to assure members that before we embark on the project, we will do the appropriate environmental study, just as we have done from Tengah and also for Bedok. It is important for us to take a holistic evaluation on the impact on the environment, and members, and as well as members of the public, can assure that PUB will do the right thing of studying before we embark on it. And we have taken care of it when we did Tengah, situating the solar panels where we are, limiting the size, where we think that's appropriate for the animals and the birds in that area. And we'll similarly do the same for Pandan Reservoir.
So I thank Ms. Polisan for asking some more details about the CFRP and the Centre of Excellence that will be cited in NUS. While NUS may serve as a host for this new setup, it will be an institution that will involve other IHLs, other research institutions from NTU to the A-star institutions as well. Plus, there will be an executive committee that comprises some of the experts in these related fields that will provide insights and opinions on how best to scale up and grow this particular organization. So with the involvement of more industry partners as well as other institutions of higher learning, there will be opportunities, of course, then for students in these institutions to involve in some of the R&D work, and that's how we build up the talent pipeline. Connections with other international bodies of excellence would then also create another network where we can bring expertise from overseas to scale up and boost the expertise on the R&D.
So I'm heartened to hear Ms. Polisan's interest in Project Wabakea and how it will scale up. So right now we are covering about 30% of HDB blocks, but just 9% of landed homes, and we really need 5 million mosquitoes every week. So imagine we cover whole Singapore, we easily meet, 15, 20 million a week. So whether how we are able to do this in a cost-effective way with large-scale production and release of these mosquitoes in these public areas. But at the same time, or before that, we must also determine scientifically how effective this technology is being rolled out and whether it's effective at the large scale across the whole Singapore. You need to look at how the dynamics of the Wabakea mosquitoes with the wild-type mosquitoes out there, how they survive, how they continue to find the female mosquitoes to mate, but also how they are released and distributed across the dense urban setting we have in Singapore. Both high-rise HDB blocks, including now 50 stories that we have, that we are building, as well as landed property estates. So we need to justify that we are able to use our resources prudently in a cost-effective way so that we can achieve the desired outcome. So on this, I'd like to ask for members' patience as NEA with the Environmental Health Institute, work on studying the different rollouts that we have so far, establishing the scientific basis of the effectiveness, and also getting the resources to scale up production accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, the two SMSs and SPS for their responses. I just have one clarification. As Singapore pursues our ambition to be a climate services hub, we are seeding our ecosystem of sustainability solutions providers by welcoming and working with international partners. I think it makes a lot of sense to attract the best people and best organizations here quickly to support us. At the same time, I'd like to hear the Minister's thoughts on what more can we do? How can we ensure that there is sufficient investment and coordination across our public, private, and people sectors to nurture world-class sustainability champions, leaders, and institutions of our own to service both Singapore and the global community?
Chairman, I thank Professor Khor for a very thoughtful question. And I totally agree with him about the need to create excellence in Singapore, but at the same time have a strong local anchor so that Singaporeans will find exciting career and also will be able to create value as we move towards sustainability. And I think the example that SMS Koon has mentioned earlier about climate protection and flood management center that we have just announced. This is a very clear illustration of how we intend to do that. It is a center that is located in NUS with strong anchors, not just in NUS, but in various IHLs that have capabilities in related issues. It also intends to pull in disciplines from other centers that's related to coastal protection and flood management. So for example, if we consider nature-based solutions, then, expertise in this area will have to be incorporated. At the same time, we talked about a living lab where interesting solutions that have worked elsewhere, we need to find, we need to test, and we need to pilot it so that to ensure that it's effective in the Singapore context. And this is where overseas expertise and local companies can jointly work on such projects, and therefore anchoring and transferring, absorbing some of these foreign expertise into the local talent pool. SMS Co has also talked about how we intend to engage students in PhD projects and also in the master's project to ensure that we have sufficient pipeline to enable us to undertake this project that is going to be massive, that's going to be huge, that's going to be significant. At the same time, it's going to take many decades. So it's a multi-billion, multi-decade undertaking. Just as we have done so for the water security story, this water protection, coastal protection part of it is going to be a new areas where we expect international collaboration, foreign ideas and innovations that we should be open to accept. At the same time, finding our own local applications that is relevant and cost-effective to us. Also, I'd like to just refer members to what has been announced under the MTI COS debate, that a Green Skills Committee will be set up, really looking at creating greater capability, developing more expertise in the area of sustainability and green economy. This is a very exciting area. It cuts across many sectors. It is both verticals, like coastal protection, and horizontals that cuts across sustainability, verification and management reporting of carbon emissions. It's a vertical that cuts across all sectors. So many, many opportunities, lots of work ahead of us, and we want really to see how we can bring greater coordination between public, private, and people sectors.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got two clarifications. The first one is for SMS Khor. I'm glad that SMS Khor has told us, the rentals actually don't make up the bulk of the cost for the cooked food prices store in the hawker centre. And I think you mentioned it's only about 9%. But the challenge would be for many people that's out there, they would think then now are the hawkers actually profiteering as a result of it? I believe most hawkers are not, and they're just trying to earn a decent living wage, right, for that purpose. So can SMS share a little bit more, apart from what we already know, how can we ensure that the cooked food prices increase in future do not actually outpace the inflation rate that's in the market? Will NEA actually consider for all the cooked food stalls that's under the direct rental with NEA, will you consider asking them to at least provide a budget meal in some form or the other, even though they are not the socially conscious or social enterprise hawker centres? The second clarification is for SMS Khor. I'm actually very heartened that you shared all the plans for the aquaculture, and actually they're very good because they consider all different aspects, right, within that ecosystem. But as we all know, R&D effort also takes time to translate this to commercialization. Given now the runway to 2030 is not very long, how confident are we that all this will be able to meet the targets that we set for 2030? Thank you.
Let me thank the member for a very useful question for clarification on the rentals of hawker centres. As I've said, rentals, based on our last survey in 2022, October 2022, rentals form about 9% of the hawker's total operating cost. Actually, the main operating cost is ingredient costs, food ingredients is about 57%. And then the next one is actually manpower costs. Rental comes third. But having said that, we are mindful that we must create a good environment for the hawkers, make sure that the rents are fair but not speculative. So that this is the reason why we have actually done away with reserve rent, so people can bid for as low as $1. In fact, we do have rentals at $2 a month. Yeah. They bid according to what they think they can pay and what the competition and so on. Then we have done away with subletting and assignment, so that you remove this real estate play from hawker store rentals. And of course, actually in our SEHCs, for new SEHCs, we have a staggered rental scheme. So the first 2 years, they don't pay the full rental. It's 80%, 90%, and then the third year, 100%. And of course, during pandemic and even R&R, when it's prolonged period, we give rental waivers and so on. And also rebates for SNCC and so on, where it's closed for upgrading. So this is how we try and keep the rentals reasonable, not speculative, to help the hawkers. And I think that hopes to clarify, when I say rental is 9%, it doesn't mean the hawkers are profiteering, because there are other costs involved, right, which are even higher. With regards to asking whether for direct, those existing hawkers where it's tendered out, do we then want to ask them to provide budget meals? Actually, our survey showed even now, recently, that prices of hawker food in our hawker centres are generally lower than those in the other food establishments within the vicinity, like coffee shops and so on. And indeed, whilst you ask this, there are actually some people who perceive that SEHC maybe hawker food is higher price. But basically, when you look at it, they are comparable. And I think that competition would help, because hawkers will price according to what they think the market can, the patron demographics, as well as, of course, their cost structure, the location, and so on. So I think hawkers do that. And our surveys have actually shown that they are reasonable. And Mr. Singh also asked, right, whether we can build one in Marina Bay, because he thinks that, the hawker centres, hawker food is much more reasonable.
Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank Ms. Chan for asking this important question that I'm sure must be on the minds of many Singaporeans after we have gone through the disruptions of some of our supplies during COVID itself. First, I must say that 2030, our 30 by 30 goal is actually a stretch target. Right? Today, we import 90% of the food we consume, so we do have a lot of headroom that we need to make up for. Unfortunately, the 2 years of COVID disruption has also caused many of our farm projects to be delayed, especially those who are in the midst of trying to start their construction in the midst of COVID. Delays in raw materials, delay in supplies, curtailment of work by foreign workers unable to work because of COVID. All these have caused at least about 1 to 2 years of delay in the implementation plan. But when you talk to the farming community, they are committed to try and increase their production and increase our food resilience. As I said in my speech, what is important also is to make sure that as they produce more, Singaporeans are prepared to consume more of local produce. There must be a demand for the produce. And many of our farmers actually can produce more, but they have hesitancy doing so, not knowing whether the market can absorb the produce as well. So, which is why I think it's important for all of us to buy our collective insurance. We need to support more local produce so that it gives a signal and encouragement to our farmers to do more production. In reaching our 30 by 30 target, it is a stretch goal, as I said, but it's also a journey. And I think we are trying our very best, resourcing our farmers with funding, helping them with technology adoption. We have seen some early success of this, where some of our fish farms, for example, are taking on more productive methods using recirculating aquaculture systems, floating on the sea rather than just using the seawater as it is, but filtering and actually creating a more conducive environment within the tanks for the fish to be grown in a more dense manner, yet kept in a very safe and very humane way to allow the tonnage to be much more intense. So using a recirculating aquaculture system, for example, the productivity and the yield can be up to 10 or 15 times more than open sea cage. And I think if more of our farms adopt such productive technologies, we will be closer to hitting our 30 by 30 target. Today, we have 3 egg farms and a 4th one in the way. We are able to probably close the gap and meet our 30% of eggs requirements in Singapore. But for vegetables and fish, we do need more Singaporeans to support consumption so that we can actually ramp up. And the AFA that we've just announced will hopefully be able to shape our consumers and our B2B kind of relationship with our farms to increase offtake and increase consumption so that together we build ourselves towards that resilience we desire. Thank you.
Mr. Louison.
Thank you, sir. I thank Minister for the good news about the green procurement, the disposable carrier bag charge. But could I ask whether we have a timeline in terms of when we will expand the green procurement practices and the disposable bag charge, and whether the ministry will consider publishing a roadmap for these expansions, similar to what we've done for carbon tax? Second, I'm sure SMS Amy didn't do this on purpose, but she didn't respond to my cuts on second-hand smoke. So could I ask her whether we can do a public consultation or set up a citizens' work group to tackle this issue of second-hand smoke? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I sort of expected Mr. Louis Ng to ask for what's next even as and when we announce the first step. I would just like to assure members that we will definitely want to go as fast as possible, really focusing on our target of 2030 and realizing that green procurement has its impact of expanding the introduction of new, more environmentally friendly products and services, and also hopefully as a pathfinder, introduce more technologies, also introducing scale so that we can help to bring down the costs of such products and services. So we're very mindful about the impact that we can play. But at the same time, I think several members in the House, Mr. Chairman, have also asked that we do it in a way that is inclusive so that all our companies, our SMEs, are also brought along this journey. So we are balancing the pace. It's a bit like the Goldilocks problem, not too hot, not too cold, just right. So we shouldn't go too slowly, but neither should we go too quickly, but we should do it just right. We will take the lessons learned from the first tranche that we will be implementing, and you can, I think members can be assured that we will want to go as quickly as we can.
Let me first take the first question on disposable carrier bag charge. I've just announced that we're going to start charging 3rd of July, Monday. So we have not even started. But having said that, really actually the issue is not about charging for disposable carrier bag charge, disposable carrier bag. The idea of doing this really is to nudge a change in behavior, to get people to think more before they take that bag, to reduce their use, and if possible, even not to use it, right? You're talking about small little bags. Why do you need to use it? Put it in the pocket, put it in the bag, your handbag, and so on, and you don't actually need it. So the idea really is to nudge a change in behavior. So if indeed, once we start this, there is a significant change in behavior, there's no need to expand because people will change behavior automatically, not take the bags if they don't need to. And also, community, other organizations may follow suit in charging for bags just to help nudge behavior. So I think we need to monitor and don't jump the gun. Now, I also want to thank you for asking for clarification on a second-hand smoke. Thank you indeed, because frankly, I ran out of time. And it wasn't my pet subject, so I had to choose. Yeah, but thank you. Now I can continue with the rest of my speech.
Sounds like Gelong.
Gelong, huh? Right, but as Mr. Louis Ng suggested, he was suggesting setting up a citizens' work group to study this issue of second-hand smoke in homes. Really, the key challenge in this matter is in enforcing against second-hand smoke in homes, if we want to do it. And the challenges are, as we have already said, but I'll repeat it again, technological constraints and privacy concerns, to collect clear and court-admissible evidence of smoking in homes, whether it's at the balconies or windows, and to, by identifiable individuals. And this makes enforcement difficult. So I think we cannot resolve this issue simply by just setting up a citizens' work group, to get the group to discuss about the issue of second-hand smoke. What is important is we need to be able to find, that technological means, that identify the technological means to enforce it. So therefore, we currently have no plans to set up such a work group, but as I've said before, and it's worth repeating again, we are monitoring technologies in this area and to see, whether we can actually utilize anything to strengthen enforcement possibilities. And as I've also noted just 2 days ago, I think, that we have also been working on upstream efforts, multi-ministry. So Ministry of Health increased tobacco tax again, MOF, increased tax on tobacco. We hope that will help to further reduce smoking prevalence, smoking initiation, encourage smoking cessation, and many other legislative and policy measures that we put in. If we reduce smoking prevalence, second-hand tobacco smoke issue would also be addressed.
Ms. Haniso.
Thank you, Chairman. I have 3 SQs. 2 is for SMS Amy Khor. I'm heartened to hear about the plans to be rolled out on the International E-Waste Day, which is in October. But apart from that, could NEA also look into how the 3 Ps can come together to increase awareness in other aspects? For example, the World Environment Day in June, and coming up very soon, the Global Recycling Day on the 18th of March, so that we can encourage more active recycling and for the community to collectively take the lead to further the reduced contamination rate of our recyclables. The second question is on the charging for plastic bags. During Marsiling UTGRC's GAC deep dive, one of the suggestions is actually to explore how the community can collaborate with supermarkets to incentivize and encourage BYOB initiatives. So how can the ministry facilitate to actually link up the community and these supermarkets so as to organize more of such green sustainable initiatives? Thirdly, for SPS Baey, in relation to the project Wolbachia, I understand that it's been rolled out and intended to ramp up to more HDB blocks and also landed homes. Can I also clarify that whether, are we also exploring for, if we have sufficient numbers, to release it to the private condominiums as well? As during the peak periods, for example, in Woodgrove, I have 7 condos, there's actually a cluster for these condominiums. Thank you.
I thank the member for her suggestions. Indeed, we can work with the grassroots local advisors, as well as, of course, through the green action communities, which SPS Baey was talking about, in order to look at outreach and education efforts, as well as increasing awareness about recycle right and nudging people to, adopt such green habits. So we can do so. We actually have got our NEA officers at the ground too, and we can work through this as well as the green action communities. With regards to supermarket operators, definitely, actually we are already engaging the supermarket operators, and I've just announced that all the supermarket operators have already agreed that they're going to use the proceeds from the back charge for environmental and social causes. And one of them could be like giving out reusable bags to the community, encourage them to use that.
Thank Ms. Aniso for the question. Indeed, I think for us to cover all residential premises, private condominiums will be part of it. And we will need to work with the MCSTs because we need access to the premises, because it's currently we're looking at releases twice a week. So they will need such a collaboration with the MCSTs and the condominium residents. But at the moment, we are looking at how we can put our resources to bring benefits to more people, right? So therefore, HDB estates will be our primary interest, because with that, we are able to scale up, hopefully can scale up and then protect more people from dengue. So let us take one step at a time, but certainly the condominium residents would be part of our radar screen as well. Thank you.
Mr. Louis Ng, you may wish to withdraw your amendment.
So the work of MSC is very diverse and very important one. It covers the food we eat, the environment we live in, the water we drink, and of course the future of humankind in terms of protecting our planet and fighting climate change. And I didn't forget and didn't run out of time, the air we breathe, secondhand smoke as well. I know I asked some difficult questions, especially to SMS Amy, but since she says she's immune to it, we can continue. But I want to record my sincere appreciation for the hard work by all the office holders, the team and staff members at MSE, NEA, PUB, SFA. Thank you for all your hard work. I thank all the MPs who have spoken up as well to question our policies, to make our policies better. And I should also record our thanks to Speaker and the team at Parliament for greening Parliament, for again ending the use of disposable cups, for turning up the aircon temperature so we sweat it out as we debate here, all in the spirit of cutting our emissions. And I hope speakers do note that I'm the first GPC chair to thank you in our wrap-up speech, but you should note me as Louis Ng, not Louis Chua. With that, sir, I beg leave to withdraw my amendment.
Is the honourable member given leave to withdraw the amendment? I think leave of the majority is given. The amendment is withdrawn. The question is that the sum of $2,432,080,200 for head L stand part of the main estimates. As many as are of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that the sum of $1,056,918,300 for head L stand part of the development estimates. As many as are of that opinion say aye. It could be a bit more enthusiastic. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.